once again. It's time, my friends, for another meet and greet. We're Southern Fried and nationwide, so hang on to your seat. Look around, here's what I found. I guess you'll never know what you'll see on the Southern Fried Podcast Show. Yeehaw.
And good morning. Hope all are well on this Tuesday before the new year. And be safe out there today and tonight. A lot of people will be partaking of things, and it might be a little rough out on the roadways. Be a lot of roadblocks for sure. And just need to be careful with those things. Good morning to you on Instagram and other channels as you come online. We appreciate it. A little bit later for me, but I was busy this morning doing some stuff, and I decided I would get on for a while. I haven't done a Tuesday talk in a couple of weeks, so thought I'd get on for a few minutes anyway. And we're scheduled to be on tonight, welcoming in the new year. So we'll join us tonight. We'll put out when we get a time we'll put that out and get it scheduled up so you can see it when it's going to be, unless you probably will be busy. We may not have anybody, but some people stay home and they just sit around and they don't go out anywhere or do anything. And that's probably the best, to be safe anyway. And it's interesting, as we think about our year turning over and what's going to happen in the new year. A lot of people reflect back. A lot of people look forward. Everybody sort of has something they look at. We may not look at everything in detail, but it is good to reflect on what was good and what wasn't good, and start looking at what we can do to be better ourselves. Every day is a challenge. I always say the biggest challenge I have every day is looking at me in the mirror when I shave. If I can get that guy to be what he needs to be every day, it's probably going to be a pretty good day. Then I can pray for others as well as pray for myself. So happy early new year to you, 2025. Every time we flip a new year, I always remember back to the year 2000 and Y2K. Everything was going to crash. Everything was going to fall apart. Machines were going to shut down. Machines were going to take over. Boy, how much money was made off of that? Y2K. Almost 25 years ago. That's amazing. I remember reflecting and wondering what prophecy might come true in 2000, if any. And here we are 25 years later. So we get up in the morning, sun's still going to be coming up, and might be a little cool where you're at, or it might be warm, but it's still a new day. It's fascinating, though, when we think about the new year as it transitions across the world of the different time zones. People are celebrating, and then others are lagging behind as the time changes to go across the nation. I think that's interesting when we think about those things happening. Haven't seen a whole lot in the news. It's again, a lot of politicians are going to be at parties and going to be doing different things for that. There is a little bit. I mean, we did notice that they're going to send a whole bunch more money over to Ukraine. We saw that. There's a little bit of news on Fox about JonBenet Ramsey's father. He announces a sit down with the police chief in the DNA lab. That's amazing that story is still out there that long. When we think about, I don't know. Somehow they bungled that investigation. I don't want to judge from afar, but I just feel like that should have been settled a long time ago. And it's just truly a tragic story. And who knows? We may never really know. Newsmax, Speaker Johnson support consolidating, but Kenny thread House needle, very thin margin there. I'm looking forward to the confirmation hearings as we get into the new year. An article about Jimmy Carter, former President Jimmy Carter passing, but Israel had mixed feelings. I can understand that because they were not always happy with how he worked with elections over there with the Palestinians, and we know that was a mess. And sometimes he was critical of their elections. Americans have been very involved in Israeli elections to the point that they have teams on the ground, money being flowed in to work with opposition parties and stuff. This is increased over the years, and of course they don't like it. I mean, we could think about a foreign government putting, which they do it here, but they're a little bit covert about it, not as much, Russia, but establishing offices and teams and going out and supporting the opposition party and trying to sway the election in a country. Whatever you feel about Israel, I can understand how they would feel about that. And I remember those times when he interjected in that way. He very much was, kind of one-sided to some of that. So I could see that they would have a little bit mixed feelings about that. So, again, they probably look at every administration with mixed feelings, to be honest. But it was as this article says, a complicated relationship. And honestly, a lot of the presidential relationships have been complicated and sometimes confrontational. We go beyond complicated. We would go to confrontation as we think about things that they've said, trying to force them into or restrict them from as far as agreements and stuff. But, again, he was making groundbreaking agreements with Egypt. And so those accords, whether it was when Clinton was doing, President Clinton, or whether it was President Carter or others who have taken them to the Camp David and trying to remember those famous shoves that President Clinton was trying to shove, Yasser Arafat and Israeli leader into the room, and no leader. They were trying to bring them together, force them to the agreement. And there was this little funny interaction where one didn't want to go in the door first. It was considered a sign of weakness. So they do this little dance around. The president's standing there like, okay, guys, we got to get inside the room. And they don't realize how it just totally goes over their head. They don't understand the power of an image. Enemies understand that. In the West, in the Western world, we kind of miss that sometimes. There's people who specialize in it. They get it. But a lot of times politicians don't understand that. And I remember reading that when the first Gulf War, when Saddam Hussein was, they sent his top general out, one of his top generals out, and they were going to sign the agreement and, set things down and everything. But anyway, he gave him his, because he stayed in power. He gave him his double barrel, his ivory, pistols, sidearms. And he told him, he said, whatever you agree to, whatever they won't do it. But you wear these guns on your side when you go in. And because he knew that was a powerful image, and they knew who those were. And what that was is saying, I'm still here, I'm still in command. In effect, I've won because I'm still in command. And it was a very profound look. There's another one where there's a little back and forth between, I think it was George W. Bush and Vladimir Putin, and it was a handshake. And there's this whole thing about, who's on the top hand in the handshake. And you can see them sort of dancing around that. Obviously, they both had been coached to understand that significance of having the hand on top. And they were both dancing around that. So these images are very powerful. I get into those. I don't know if you've ever watched any of those body language expert shows or anything. I find those interesting, to be honest. Sometimes I agree. Sometimes I don't agree to the full extent of it. I think it can be misconstrued a little bit. But you can tell a lot in body language. You can. There's, without a doubt. We do it all the time. We watch people and we look for those cues. Sometimes I think they take too much liberty with a body language so-called expert and put too much into it of what they were thinking, and just been their hip was hurting or something, but there is a lot in that. We put off a lot of nonverbal cues with our eyes, with the way we say things, the way we the inflections of our voice, the way we stand, the way we place our hands. I've sat with folks who specialize in this, this closed look versus an open look, and all that does play in. And our brains pick up on these cues. We don't even think about it a lot of times, but the more we can, the more that we can help in an interview or a negotiation or whatever. There's a lot of these where it is important how you walk in to be interviewed for a job. and how you're dressed and how you respond and how you sit, the posture you have, we don't like for people to be looking at the ceiling when we're talking to them, but we don't want to be stared down either. It is a give and take, and people that really get into that side of things, when you get into this, into the leaders of the world, it becomes even more important because we're talking about nations that could be at war or are at war, and what do those body language things happen. And so there's some of them when President-elect Donald J. Trump, and people have looked at this when he walks with other leaders, and you can tell that some of the more weak ones who think they're bad, like think they're tough, and they try to push him into stuff, and for photo ops and stuff, and he's like, no, you go ahead. He gets it. I mean, he's a guy that has street smarts that way, and he gets it. And Biden he gets put on the back row. What a bad look. I mean, you just don't let the leader of America do that. I mean, that's for Estonia or something. Nothing against if you're from Estonia, but you know what I mean. We're a superpower. We don't take the back row, Bob. I mean, we're front and center. I mean, who does that? And people look at that and they're like, it just tells you everything you need to know that you're willing to do that. It's not a cockiness, but it is a confidence. And we are, we don't take second place to anybody. We may be sitting there in negotiation, but we're not second. 1A, 1B. I don't know what you want to say, but America doesn't take the back seat. And that's what we need in 2025. We need a positioning of toughness, peace through strength that we hear a lot. And I agree with that. So I find it interesting, though. And whether you like him or hate him, President Donald J. Trump understands all of these things when you go into negotiations. Business does it all the time. You have to find your place in business. You have to find your place in negotiations. But that goes all the way down to relationships and marriage or with children or even your children. You're trying to find, give them a place that they feel comfortable talking to you, but also that you are, you are the, when they're small, less than adult age, you're certainly in a position of power, but you want to give them freedom to express and say things and whatever, because you want to teach them how to negotiate, how to grow, because when they're going to be grown, they need these skills. And so we teach them that. We give them more and more liberties and responsibility and all those things. And some don't get it. They get into a job and they don't even know how to talk to each other about the job or how to communicate, just common things. But then at some point they're adult, but you're still the parent, and you may just be an advisor. You may be just a listener. They may be looking for something specific. It changes over time. It does. And so these are all important things. And I just find those things extremely interesting. I worked with basically a coach of, it's what he'd be called. Today they would probably call it something totally different. Back in the day, I'm talking 20 years ago, I worked with this guy, and he's local to our area, and he's very good at the art of figuring out employee morale, culture, all those kinds of things. If you've worked in a company and you think, man, our culture is horrible or it's great, there have probably been people working on that to make it that way, or either way, to make it horrible or make it great. And he's a guy that could come in and say, hey, listen, we're having a problem. And usually he gets the weekend call, got to fly out. So, 3 a.m. flight, get in and figure this thing out quickly on Monday morning, because we got problems and our things are not working, and we just can't figure it out. He's a guy that goes in and just through talking to people and listening, which they could do for free. They could just do it themselves. But instead they want Mr. Fix-It to come in. And so I used to love it when Andy Griffith, in the Andy Griffith show would, Andy would call Barney Mr. Fix-It, because that meant he messed it up. But in this case, the guy was a Mr. Fix-It, if they would listen. And he would fly in, pardon me, and he would listen to the employees, and he would figure out, what was the beef? What's the problem? Why are you so angry at leadership? And what I found interesting about his work is how powerful the human equation is on the smallest of things that means so much. That's why I say the best things companies can do are free. Yeah, everybody wants more money. I mean, it's a given. But there are a lot of things you can do, a lot of things that cost no money. And at every level that we are, whether that's at our own government, whether that's in your company or in your own family, everybody wants to hear certain things, and they want to know that they have value. They want to know that you appreciate them. They want to know that you even recognize them, that you notice them, that you care about them. And that's when you get that, and you've got everything. When you don't have that, you start losing control of that because people stop caring. And there was one story where I heard of a company where this was up north from me here in the States. I don't remember what state, but it was Christmas time, and the company had just been bought. If I remember the story correctly, I think I do, but the company had just been bought a few months before, and it just was going downhill. And at Christmas time, it went off the chart. People were dissatisfied, upset, and again, they could have fixed this problem easily. So this guy flies up on a Friday, talking to people through the weekend. It's a 7-day-a-week operation. He didn't need to. I mean, I guess he caught some of the. I don't know if he caught probably at least 2 different shifts he talked to, but he had the problem diagnosed within the first 2 hours, but maybe less than that. And so he comes in on Monday morning, and the company says, "Have you got any answers for us?" He goes, "Absolutely, I've got the answers for you." And he said, "You need to order a whole lot of teddy bears, and you need to change the color of the sweater that goes on the teddy bear to a color that he named the color. You need a color like green or whatever it was with this letter on the front." And they're like dumbfounded, like, "What are you talking about? Teddy bears? I mean, we paid you all this money to come and read teddy bears, sweaters, green. Like, what is?" And so he said, "Listen, this is he told him, he said, you could have figured this out easily. You just got to talk to the people. These are the new owners. And, change is hard in anything. And so there was change. But the problem is that the guy who sold the company, he was very personable. And at Christmas time, he made sure that he went around to every employee and he shook every employee's hand, and he gave them this teddy bear that had, it was like the name, the first letter of his name, which was the name of the company, was on the teddy bear. And he always made sure to get a different color so that, people collected them. Some people have been there for a long time. They had 20 of these things. I don't know if that's the number, but whatever they had. And I don't remember if it was green, I was using that as an example, but they had a different letter or a different color. And every year, and he would walk around and personally, one thing to buy them, it was another thing to walk around personally, shake everybody's hand, and tell them he appreciated their service to the company and hoped that they had a great Christmas, Happy New Year. They would shut down, and a couple of days there or something. But and he knew about their families. Like, he'd walk up to somebody, he knew their wife's name or their husband's name, their children's names. I mean, that goes way back. I mean, if you've ever read the book Winning Friends and Influencing People, which I think, if memory serves, was written back in the 40s, that little book is gold. I mean, it works. They've always got new spins on it. You've got all the, all these self-help books and stuff and classes you can go through as business. They send their people through them. If you follow them, it'll work. If they'll follow them. It's a new spin on the same thing. It's all about caring about people. It's amazing we spend all this money to figure out, and again, I understand you need to train people. They need to figure out how to work with someone who's upset and all these things. These are all valuable. Training is always valuable, but it's all about communication. And we seem to lose that over time. And as we get more and more, robotic or AI or whatever, it gets worse. It really does. And we recognize this when we go to businesses, and there's no personality there. And I'll give you a couple examples in a minute of this, but over the years, and this has been going on for some time. I mean, it's nothing new under the sun, but to me, it seems like it gets worse. Some are great at it, and we'll talk about that too. But back to the story, the guy goes, he tells them He said, listen, this is what the guy who retired, you bought the company. This is what he did. You better get out here and talk to these people, and you better learn from them. He said, you've got a lot of damage control to do here, a lot. And you're not going to clean it up in a minute, a quick minute. But you can start by getting the teddy bears and walking around and telling these people how much you appreciate them and remain with the company. And, we're going to, give them confidence about their job, something, but just, it means a lot to them. This guy had built, a couple, 3 decades of this. And it was, it's a company where people stayed. Turnover was low. People had worked there a long time. And even newer people that came along, they jumped on board. They recognized the culture. And he, I guess they did it and got that fixed. So I love when I see people that work with things like that. I just find them interesting. And when you set a course of doing that, you got to keep it up. You can't slack off. You've got to stay that way. It can't be programmed. It can't be, sometimes people do things like that. Well, it's 9 o'clock. I better go welcome a few people. It needs to be a part of everyday course of activities. It's ingrained. It's a built-in habit. It's real. And that's what we're talking about. It's real. And I've met before we go into, I'll give you a couple examples, but we talk about our leaders. And I've been at places where people were as fake as the day is long as a politician. I've seen it. You probably, I've been in the same room with them. I've shook their hand. I've talked to them. They're fake. They don't care about anybody there. It's all about themselves. But I have also been in places where, and not always new. Sometimes new people show that. They really go, that's how they gain votes. They pull votes away. That's how a lot of elections are lost, by the way, is that connectivity with people. And people can overcome a lot of things you did wrong if you're connected with them and they see that you're trying to work on it. They're not happy with you, but they say, most people don't like change. They like for things to stay as long as things are going in the right direction. But somebody new coming along, they get out, they're knocking on every door they can, they've got an army of people and they mobilize. We got to watch them. Are they doing that every time election comes up? Are they slacking off? And sometimes, they get a name for themselves and they don't do it as much. But every time that they lose a little bit, they're losing because you're not connecting with voters, and it's important. You should always be out there, be among the people. And I respect that. And but again, it can't be fake. It can't be just like I'm showing up. I want to talk to you about a vote. Honestly, the best politician is one that's already built that. Then they run for office and everybody goes, I know this person. They're great. I'll give them my vote. I've always voted for X, but now I'm going to vote for this person. It's nothing against them, but I really believe that they care more about me. It's probably because they've already built up a relationship. As a person, if anybody's thinking about running for office, you can't shortcut the people part. I don't even understand how anybody could think they could do that. But some people think they can hold, a few political camera moments nowadays. It all helps. It's good. We've had people on our podcast, and that's the way to connect. Absolutely, let them get to know you, but you've got to do the in person as well. You got to find a way to connect with people, and it's got to be ongoing. And because we build relationships with people, not really with causes. Sometimes people will vote for things not because of what their platform is. A lot of times, in working with elections, I hear this a lot. People talk to you about voting and stuff, and they will tell you most voter education needs a lot of improvement, and most people, I'm not judging, but most people are so busy in their lives they don't really think about everything. They don't even know about everybody that's running. In some cases, they don't know anybody that's running. But somebody said, you need to go vote. You need to go vote. You got to vote. You better vote. The country needs you. The city needs you. The county needs you, whatever. They go vote. And they walk in and they go, I don't know none of these people. And so they'll vote for somebody. They say, you know what? I think I seen their campaign sign somewhere. That's the best I got. That's what they vote on. So putting out campaign signs does work. Having a billboard does work. having been on a podcast or a TV spot or having a commercial. That's why you get inundated with all that. It does work. A flyer in the mail that comes in, they say, okay, it's political. I'll throw it in the garbage. You say ineffective. No, it is effective. You've planted that image into their heads like, who's this? Oh, they're running for this. I'll throw it away. I don't need it. They've seen it. Well, that image is now captured within their brain, and it's stored away somewhere. And at recall, they're going to go, I kind of remember them sending me something. Now, some are very educated to it. That's not to say many, but I think the majority are not. Or they're very knowledgeable about maybe a presidential election, but they don't know anything about, state level judges or, Supreme Court judges for the state or their local candidates. They may not know them. But sometimes they know the local and they don't know anything federal too. So again, it's connectivity. And so I try to go to those events and meet people. Back to body language. I want to look at them. I want to talk with them. I want to see how they interact with me. And do they answer your questions? Do they blow you off? Do they say, well, and you start getting the snow job? Or do they genuinely listen to you? They try to talk over you. Do they, are they dismissive, defensive even? It's okay to be a disagree as long as you say, I'm hearing what you're saying. Here's how I believe. It's okay to say that because that helps me know whether you're going to be effective in how you vote for bills and how you legislate, how you're going to be as elected official. I want to see that. I want to hear that. And I want you to hear how I feel as a voter. But yeah, I think for me, as I thought about things and how they've changed as you go back and I look at, I remember, to give you an example, and we know banking is one of those it's horrible. And mortgages are the same, although you don't see your mortgage people all the time. Banking you do, or you did, or you should. Electronics today, not as much, but I still walk in my bank. I've got 2 banks, not because I have a lot of money, and a credit union, actually a couple of them, but that's just the way we move money around and do different things. And a lot of people have done this. I got different accounts. And there's reasons why we have them at different banks is because of this same thing I'm talking about, customer service. And there's one bank I've stayed at for, I won't name, and I want to give them an example. And I went across the street and started a new account because I didn't move this account. I just created a new one because my payroll was going in this bank and I didn't really want to mess that up. And so I let my wife usually handle that bank. I don't fool with them that much because I got so really frustrated. And the problem with banks is they get bought out constantly. We started with this little local bank. I won't name. It was a great local bank. When you walked in the bank, everybody knew your name. Now, I know there are still places out there like this, but it's getting fewer and far between when you see this happen. So you walk in, everybody says, hey, Mr., wherever they call you by your first name. That was that hometown feel. That was you walked in, they knew you. They knew your family. Hey, how's your wife doing? We saw her the other day, and yeah, I tell her hey, we love her and all that. I mean, you got that personal feel. Are you having a good day? Dave for me, Dave or David or Mr. Cordell or whatever, and you got that. Okay, then we had that bank, and it was a good bank, and I loved it. But then they got bought, and it's like, oh, okay, what does this mean? They were still the same people. For a while, it wasn't that bad, although fees went up. Fees always go up, right, every time they're sold. It's like when they say a Dollar General bag blows across the ground, another Dollar General store is built. Every time a bank is bought, your fees are going to go up a lot. And it happens a lot. This one bank that I've been at has changed hands, I want to say 5 times. I know it's at least 4, and I think 5 times it has changed names, been bought up. And it is now a well-known bank. Huge. But I could care less, to be honest. They don't have no connectivity with me. There's nobody left that was there. But over time, every time we would go in, it got a little bit worse. And so I kind of got aggravated with it. And I said, I just told my wife, I said, if you see anything to do, I was working a lot too, but you deal with it. And they still knew her. Well, one day, I walked in and, they didn't have a clue who I was. Everybody had changed. I do some business for my mom, actually. They knew who I was. And, I was she was disabled and I was trying to conduct business for her. And, you set things up. And back in the day, they just did it. I mean, they just knew us, there was all the fraud and everything. And so these people didn't know me, and they said, well, we can't do this. You'd have to have an account here. And I'm like, well, who do you think I am? I do have an account here. Oh, okay. Well, so that handled it for the next few months. And then one day I come and they go, well, she'll have to have an account here. And I said, well, it's going to be, difficult. She's disabled, so I said, okay, we can set it up. Tell me what we have to do. And so they were telling me then they weren't going to, help her with her check or whatever. This is back in checks. It's been a while back. It's just at the very beginning of starting to put those straight into accounts. And so I challenged the guy, that they were snarky. It acts like they didn't want to do anything. I've been at this bank at this time for a long time. And, they don't know me. The manager was a jerk. And he says, I can't do it. I can't, you have to do all this or get the account or we can't help her. I said, I just want to know one thing. We've been doing business here. I have an account here. We've been doing business here. We've been doing this for, 15 years, something like that. I said, I just want to know that I'm hearing you correctly. So you're saying you will not cash her check today and me take it to her son, I'm showing you all the IDs. We've been doing this for years. Well, we're not going to do it anymore. I said, okay, that's fine. You're not going to do it. But I said, you're not going to do it today. We got to get this set up. It's going to take a little bit of time. And you expect her to still open an account with you? So maybe we've been doing this for years, and you're saying, no, nada, you're not going to give her any grace and give us a month to get this set up, and you want her to open an account here. And the guy at least had enough sense to go, well, yeah, we better just, we'll take care of that today. Get those things in. We'll get that set up. And the ladies were great. Didn't care for him. Well, as a matter of fact, when he said, I was going to have to come back through the drive-through, something. I had to go get her to do something. I had to bring some, extra things. I don't know what it was. And I said, well, we got another problem. I said, when I come back, the inside is going to be closed. I have to come through the drive-through. You say you won't do this type of business through the teller. He agreed. He approved it. He said, I'll be here. It's approved. I was like, the customer service went out the window. It just got worse and worse. And I finally just said, you know what? And nowadays, I never walk in that bank. I might go to their ATM. Well-known bank. Long time name. As far back as any bank can be. I can't stand them. That's my experience with them. The bank I'm at, I still get the small town. They have changed names once, but it has held on. They've grown some, and it happens. But they have held on, and when I walk in, they know me. The customer service. It's not as big of a bank. It's not as busy, but they know you. And I'd much rather go in that bank. You can keep your PIN. You can keep just the interactions to customer service. And so when we're talking about politicians, I'm not saying a politician should remember everybody's name or nothing like that. But your local people should have a pretty good idea who you are. If you've interacted with them, they should have a pretty good idea of those in their district and things like that. People, they have to understand. Now, I would give some politicians do town halls. Those are great. What we've tried to get Marjorie Taylor Greene to come on the show. We haven't been approved yet for that. We'll continue to reach out. We didn't get approved leading in the election. I know there's a lot of a demand for her. We are in her district. I am a voter in her district. And Rob is not in her district. He's in the state, but I am a voter in her district. And I have been to 3 of her town halls. And those are great. They're well attended. It's great to talk to people, kind of get their, where they're at, what their thinking is, no matter what you think about her. Some people love her, some people don't. Some people are indifferent. Even in my district, most people here are supportive, and she's won pretty easily along every election. But she does that. Others have other things that go on. I've not, some of those I've been to, some of them I've not. And some have been receptive to coming on the podcast. Some have not. As we grow, they'll become more receptive. It's just, we were new, and we got to get more well known, and we are. And we're creating, basically the news division part of our podcast is growing alongside all the other things we do, and we'll be officially a business in 2025, and establish credentials and all those things. So we'll get those folks on. There's a lot of demand, and they only have so much time. But I think because I've been engaged from day one, and I think that will reflect in when they look at those things her staff does. And I've talked to her staff before in DC and locally. And so the interaction is good. They take care of me. I've received a phone call. They want to make sure that everything's good for me to attend. Do I got my tickets? Do I know where I'm going to be? What time, they're great, and they do a good job. And that's the kind of thing you need. And some have good staffs like that. Some do not. Again, the caring about the culture of it, the caring about the people, the communication. And I have nothing but good things to say on that end. She has put some good people around her. It's obvious. And I'm not saying others have not, but some don't have as, she's on different levels. Some are more, state level. She's obviously going to federal from our state and representing that way. So it's a step up, a little bit more, and it affords you to have, a bigger staff or whatever, but it's still not a ton of money. They really don't. But it does, there are monies there for staff and stuff. And so you get a little bit more of that. So again, with that, now back to customer service and experience. And I don't mind saying, I think a lot of companies could learn from them. And that's the great customer service. Anybody could have a bad experience. I don't honestly know anybody who's had one, but you could, but they work very hard at it. That's Chick-fil-A. And I love their, I don't know if they still use the same. They may have updated it, but I've watched their new hire orientation video that they show all the new hires. And it's a wonderful video that shows from the eyes of the worker going around the restaurant. Pardon me. And as they go to different tables, what's going on with that person? This person's worried because their husband has cancer, or, this person's got a school thing going on. They've got their mind on that. This person has just been through a divorce, and it all is all about engagement. And I've talked to people that have worked for them, and they really stress anything you can do the extra. Don't wait for somebody to ask. Be engaging and ask them. Do you want me to carry this out for you? Oh, sure. Yeah, that'd be great. Don't wait. Engage. And that's why, the faith-based part of their, they're very, it's changed a little bit as Truett, Kathy is not there, but, the sons, but it's changed a little bit. And, but they still close on Sunday, and they still have great customer service and a great product. You got to have a great product, and it is a great product. So I think that's a good example of one. And, it's why when they go to try to cancel them out, and they've been up, many times the local legislators or whatever don't like the fact that they're not open on Sunday, and they're even in some stadiums, and Sunday's a big day for games, but they make enough through other events and stuff, and it works for them. Their model works, and to have good customer service is imperative, or to have a good communication. Sorry on the Instagram side for the one that said, I don't understand, please explain. What I'm talking about is engagement and communication and caring. And it doesn't matter what level, whether that's political, whether that's company level, family level, neighbor, doesn't matter. It works at all levels. We're very much, we like for people to communicate with us. Now, we may not, everybody's different. You might not want them talking to you every day, but everybody wants cordial, and some people say, about their neighbor, well, they may not talk every day, but hey, we wave every day. A couple of times I help them with something, a couple of times they help me with something. I'm kind of a private person, but I like my neighbor. Others want more interaction. They may actually have dinners together. They may do things together, become very close that way. Even neighborhoods sometimes can be especially in sometimes subdivisions and stuff. But it doesn't matter. You can make your neighborhood more engaging no matter the top, even if it's sort of spread out. You may be the farm down the road. How do you, well, what if their cow gets out or something and you help them? And there's always a way to engage your neighbors. There's always a way to communicate and reach out and make a connection with somebody. And I call it building the bridge. You build the bridge towards each other. And that's how nations should work. And when we, all the way back to the beginning, when I was talking about the body language and the ambassadors and how we go and we approach another nation, we need to build the bridge. Sometimes we as Americans, we've come in and we've tried to be the whole bridge, and you can't be that. You got to, and we have to have expectations on both ends. There should be desires of what I would like to see out of this relationship, and there also should be expectations for ourselves and for the others, and that's how we build the bridge. Now, it may be a little more built by the other, the one than the other, but you're still building the bridge towards each other. And how do we do that? Well, we get to know each other, right? We get to know each other. We learn about each other. We don't have to agree on everything, but we learn to have respect towards each other, and we we learn about, again, those commonalities. Most people across the world have a common concern. Good water, good housing, good medicines, good health care, good whatever, peace. No family wants to go in war, so you have communication that are common. You talk about how can we help you here? Is there something we can do? We do that through food programs, through helping build wells or desalination plants or something like that we've done for some countries, and we have let them know that we care. We've sent drop care packages in, or we've sent things, or we've sent engineers, or things like that to help people. And in that way, we build the bridge and we let people know that we care, and we establish a rapport with them. Again, not really agreeing on everything because they may be radically and very different than us. And but that does allow us to go to the negotiating table when there's something bigger. And what is the oath saying? And there's different ways you say it, but it's, don't tell me how much you care until you show me how much you care. And there's a lot of truth in that. Way back when I go back to ministry, and if you're talking about, reaching somebody in their heart, to their very core, their soul, it's imperative that you have that. You tell me you love me, you tell me you care about me, but show me. What do you mean you care about me? How, you don't even know me. And I get it on a Christian level because we love everybody and we care, and we can explain it in those ways, but they're still going to wait until they see, how do you show me that you care? And how do you show me that you love me? This is very big. It becomes a matter of trust, and trust is a slippery slope. Is it not? And we think about our own lives and how we care about people, and do we break the trust? And we've probably all been guilty of it a little bit, not meaning to, that we've broken a little bit of trust. We forget about an appointment. We're meant to be somebody. We told somebody we'd be there. We're like, oh, I forgot about that. They understand, they forgive us. But we say, I messed up. Please forgive me. I'll make it better. When can we do this? That's why it's important to have good notes and records and calendars and all that, because people are counting on us. And it's a little bit of broken trust. Now, if it's a pattern, that's going to become a problem. If it was a one-time event and we're able to move past it and we're able to help people, and they're like, oh, okay, a long time ago, I was worried about, if they were going to be trustworthy, but they have shown me time and time again they're trustworthy. They may never forget about that. It's hard to forget about stuff, but it's pushed so far to the back of their mind, they don't even focus on it. It's just there. It's just a memory. And actually, they may appreciate it. Like, well, we started out kind of rough. They told me they helped me. They didn't. And I thought, I don't know if I can really trust this person. But then later on, man, they really stepped up for me. I mean, they've been there for me through thick and thin, and they're just awesome. And that makes all the difference in the world. So to be trustworthy like that. And I've been on both sides of that. And so we need to have trust and be trustworthy as we deal with people. And I think our country needs to be like that. I think the United States of America needs to be trustworthy in how we deal with people. And one of the things that really frustrated me, and we've done this before, when we were at war in the Gulf, it was a horrible time. But one of the groups we worked with was the Kurds. And the Kurds were more mountainous people, northern to the country. I may be getting this a little wrong, but that's basically what I gathered out of it. And I've talked to people that were on the ground that worked with the Kurds. They gave us intel. They supported us in their way. They weren't as big as the other factions, but they supported us militarily wise. They gave us safe havens. They just helped. They were helpful. And in the end, when we pulled out, we left them defenseless, so to speak, to a large degree. And they were upset. Obviously, they were upset. They put their lives on the line for us. And we just left them hanging. Kind of like interpreters. Many interpreters are still trapped in Afghanistan that helped the Americans, and they're on the run. They're hiding. They're in fear for their lives because we left abruptly, and we just left all these things undone. And, obviously we're not going to bring the bulk of the people to America, but there are some people who have placed their lives on the line for the United States of America. And they deserve an opportunity, if they're vetted out and everything is right, to have a process to come to America through the right channels. It takes a lot of congressional move to get some of that done, and some are just not willing to do it. But there are great frustrations. I know people personally, they worked with, someone, they communicate to this day. They've built that bridge. They've been in the thick of war together. And they understand there's a bond there. There's a closeness, a friendship, and it's deep and it's abiding, and they care. And, we've seen some movies where that's been, that story's been told about how American service members were helped by those on the ground, sometimes just because that was a code of honor for them, not because they even knew them. It was a code of honor, and became friends later, in some cases. Maybe not in every case, but in many cases. So anyway, I just think these are all good discussions as we talk about going into a new year. I don't do New Year's resolutions. I think if we're not already doing something, we're probably not going to, a resolution is probably not going to last anyway. Don't wait till a new year to make a change. We can make a change and make a habit of it. It doesn't have to be January 1st, although here we are, less than 24 hours away from it. We can definitely look for things to do better. And I don't mind talking about them. We may talk about them tonight, doing things to be better in 2025, because there's always things we can improve on as individuals, as families, as communities, as states, as a nation, as politicians, as a president. There are things we can do. And so that's nothing new under the sun. We've always looked at those things. It's a self-examination to see how we are doing and how we communicate. And hopefully companies will get that. Unfortunately, many companies today are falling into the trap of forcing down the throats of their employees things they do not want. I look at it like this. Here's really simple. It really is simple. We go to work somewhere. The company's attitude should be, they should care about you. You're the most valuable asset they have. You're there to perform a job for them. It's very simple. You're there to perform a job for them. They're there to make money. There's a novel idea. Companies are there to make money. That's fine, because in making money, and if they don't make money, they're going out of business. If they make money, then treat your employees right. Pay them you're not going to give them everything they want. Nobody ever gets everything they want, but pay them a decent salary with good benefits, maybe even great benefits, as best you can. Every company does all these studies and analyses, and the companies around them, and what can we do? Some do better than others. Some are great. Some are horrible. Some are just okay. But the more you can do that, the better. And the expectation is that I will show up to work unless I'm family emergency or I'm bad sick. I will show up and I will do what I am contracted to do. It is a contract. I've agreed to work. You've agreed to pay me for the work done. That's what happens. You're not giving me anything. I've earned it, but through my work, I've earned it. I've done the work that you asked me to do, that I've been hired to do, and you've paid me. It's my money now. It's not yours. It's mine. And in the course of that, we should, treat me well. Let's have a good, safe place to work where people care, care about each other. We're not there to be you don't have to be the best of friends. It's nice if you can be, but it's called respect, and have mutual respect. And that's top down, bottom up, and in and out, side to side. Respect at every level should be respect. And we don't have to put labels on it, and we don't have to force things down people's throats they're not comfortable with. All we got to do is say, treat each other as you want to be treated, with respect. And that really sums it up. We don't have to get into all these substructures and try to get on some list out there that some group or our own government, whoever is forcing us into and putting us on a list. We just got to get back to that. Good companies are good companies, not if they got a good product that'll sell, they can market it and make money. They've been around for a long time. Some of our companies have been around for well over 100 years. They're obviously doing something right, and people want to work for them. But as companies now get more bought out, more global, more whatever, they begin to change and they begin to push certain things. And those are driven by entities beyond the company CEO's office. It's being driven many times by our own government and through regulation and different things that are going on. This is all part of making America greater. It's not just about America. It's any nation. Any nation. Treat your people right. Make a good product, sell that for what you've got your price point where you're going to make money, produce it in volume, treat people right, keep them safe. You can't work if you're hurt, keep them safe, have an inclusive environment, again, with the word respect. Doesn't matter what your background is or who you are, or what you are. You're an employee and you're there to work, and you do that with respect. That's my motto, is treat everybody with respect. And learn about each other, but you do that. You can't force that. You just can't force it. And I think companies got into this process where they were trying to force certain things and certain cultures. If there's one culture there represented, we can't leave it out. It doesn't matter what the majority is. Everybody's should have a place. And I think we use different phrases for that, but those phrases have been used to introduce other things. And I've talked to so many employees who are frustrated. And you just want to introduce respect. Again, not everybody's going to agree with me. This is my view on it. It's Dave in the AM. It's my show. And I thank you for listening. We have a handful in here and through all the different streams that are listening this morning. And, if you have a thought on it, please place it in the chat. I do like this kind of discussion because I like human interaction. After all, I'm a pastor and I care about people and I want to reach people. And, but we're at work to do a job. I'm not at work to preach the gospel, although I'm going to live the gospel before everybody I'm around, wherever I'm at. I want to be that light to them, but I'm there to do a job. If somebody asks me a question, I'll answer it, because that's how we have a give and take. And that happens often, usually in one-on-one settings. They will ask a question. They'll say, I got a question to ask you. Do you mind? I never mind, So I think those are good things. And I think as we cross into a new year, 2025, we think, what is it that I can be better at this year than even I was? Or what maybe I was great at it in 2024. Can I get even greater? Can I take it to another level of that thing I do? And then look at, what do I not do well? Maybe it's not horrible, but for myself, I know that I could improve at it. Look at that thing and try to make it better. And I think that's the intent of a new year and a new hope and a new whatever. Resolution, I don't know. Those tend to fall off. Some people are really good at it. Many are not. I think you just start where you're at and you do better. Don't make any grand, sometimes we put targets that are not achievable because they're so far away. I just need to be a little better today than I was yesterday. And if I do that every day, and I may backslide a little bit, as we say here in the South, but I will correct it. The course correction will happen very quickly, and I can get better at what I do a little bit at a time. And before you know it, I'm there. I remember this TV show once, and I'm gonna be on there a few more minutes. I've got to load some shows up and get ready for some things, and have some things today. I'm going to be on with a couple more shows today I didn't get to do yesterday. We're going to do those today, maybe 3. I'm going to have a good day of podcast. Looking forward to it. But I was watching the show, and the guy he wanted to date this girl, and she didn't give him a second look. But he was devastated. But he really liked her, probably loved her, and so she was paying attention to others, and so he. Instead of being jealous of them, he looked inwardly. What can I do? What can I do? And they were all friends, but, it wasn't like he was a stranger. Just they didn't look at him that way. And he began to do what he could do to make himself better. He reinvented himself. It took months, maybe even a year. but he reinvented himself. And finally, one day, the girl looks up and she's like, wow. She didn't notice the little changes along the way. It just hit her, maybe sometimes she didn't even see him. He was really involved in making himself better. He showed back up and he had made himself, in many ways, better. It didn't automatically mean that she would, date him or go. In this case, she did agree to go out with him. And they seemed to indicate they probably were headed, to a long-term relationship. But I like the fact of it. Even if she had said, well, I'm not interested, he's made himself better. I like that you make yourself better, that you dedicate yourself to making yourself. What can I do today? And that age has no hold on that. What can I do? 2025, I'll be 60 years old. I don't mind saying that. It feels weird to me. I don't feel that. So some days, but I really don't feel that. I feel like that same kid who loves life, who loves people, loves things. And, I love people. I love my kids and grandkids and my wife and friends and love my bulldogs. You see that up here behind me, somewhere up there. Like Elvis, my mom's picture kind of reminds me of her. I've hung that up in the studio. Got a new studio we're working on. But I enjoy those things, and age has no hold. And at this age, I'm trying to make me better. There's so many things I see that I need to improve on, and I want to do that. And the podcast, how can we improve the podcast? How can we be better at what we do? We're never going to be for everybody, and we're not trying to be. We thankful for those that stop by and give us a look, and some stay and become friends. And we appreciate all of our friends. Whether you ever communicate with us, talk to us, or send us anything, you are part of our Breadhead Nation. Cornbread Nation show is going to be debuting January 15th. We've got a lot of work to do, and the first show will not be the full totality of the Cornbread Nation. It's going to be a growing thing, but it's going to be different than our other shows. We're excited about that. New studio, new show, Southern Fried MAGA, January 20th. Be debuting Cornbread Nation, January 15th. And we'll add these to the repertoire of what we do. You can't be stagnant. You have to move forward. Some things we're always going to do. Our morning show, the little bits that we do. Some will be interspersed here and there, but some things will be solid, and we'll always do them. Front Porch Talking we have on Friday night. We'll always have Front Porch Talking. They'll never change. We may do some different things with it, but we'll always have that. We love that show. We love our other shows as well. Thanks for being here. Hey, have a wonderful afternoon. I've been on for about an hour. And going to get off and get some things done that I need to do for me and do for the podcast, and meet with family and do different things. We'll be back on. Have a great day out there. Happy early New Year. Happy New Year early, or however you say that. And we appreciate you so very much. Hope you and your family are doing well. Hope you're safe. Hope you have all the things you need. We'll pray for you. You pray for us. We'll see you soon. Take care.